A terrorist who went on a murderous rampage all in the name of Islam reportedly has just been buried. But even in death, his presence is sickening the people of Paris. According to French media, this man, Amedy Coulibaly, one of the attackers in this month's three-day terror onslaught, is now in the ground 2 weeks after killing a policewoman and 4 of his hostages. Now, his burial happened very quietly, but the fear among some officials now is that his gravesite and the gravesite of 2 other terrorists could become extremist shrines. CNN's Pamela Brown is in Paris. And Pamela, he is the 3rd and final Paris terrorist to be buried. When did this happen? Who attended the ceremony?
Well, this, according to AFP, Brooke, happened actually this morning in a Parisian cemetery here. What's interesting about this here, this is a cemetery that is owned by the city of Paris, but you don't need the mayor's approval to be buried, to have someone buried there. According to this website of the cemetery, it says whoever dies in Paris can be buried in what we call a Parisian cemetery without the approval of the city mayor. We don't know, and this is key, Brooke, whether this is an unmarked grave, because if it's not, the concern you just brought up, the concern is that it could become a shrine, a pilgrimage of sorts for those who are Islamic radicals, for those who followed, Amedy Coulibaly, who were inspired to act as a result of what they did here in Paris. Of course, that is the big concern. What we can tell you is that the brothers, the Kouachi brothers, were buried several days ago in the outskirts of Paris, and we were told that their graves are unmarked, so it's not as much of a concern for them. You may remember, Brooke, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, the Boston bombing suspect. This was a big controversy with him back at the time. Where is he going to be buried? He ended up being buried in an unmarked grave in Virginia. So this is always a big issue in these situations. And if Coulibaly was in fact buried in this Parisian cemetery, that sends a signal that no one wanted to take him. So in fact, he was buried in this random cemetery owned by the Paris City Hall. Brooke?
That's right. Yeah, no, when I saw the story out of Paris, I started thinking about those buried in the U.S. as well. It's obviously a huge concern. Let me pivot to just the news right now. These 2 significant terror suspects who are still missing, the widow of Coulibaly and the ISIS, linked Belgian ringleader. These 2, knowing that, what's the sense just among Parisians?
Well, it's interesting here, Brooke. I mean, you're right. There's sort of this feeling of increased concern. This was a bit of a wake-up call, what we saw with the Paris attacks, and then the manhunt underway right now. But in the most part, though, Parisians seem to be moving on with their lives. We saw one man sitting on a bench in plain sight reading the Charlie Hebdo magazine, the latest one, showing the cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad on the cover, and he didn't seem worried at all. The magazine is sold out at newsstands across the city here. So clearly, they're sending sort of a strong message of defiance in the wake of the terrorist attacks at the Charlie Hebdo headquarters and at that kosher market here in Paris. Brooke?
All right, Pamela Brown for us tonight in Paris. Thank you.